Text Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Text 4. Maitre Uvacha Pura Vishwasrijam Satre Sameta Paramarshaya Tatamara Ghana Sarve Sanugamuna Yognaya. The sage Maitreya said, in a former time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers. Purport. Upon being asked by Vidura, the sage Maitreya began to explain the cause of misunderstanding between Lord Shiva and Daksha, because of which the goddess Sati gave up her body. Thus begins the history of a great sacrifice performed by the leaders of universal creation, namely Marichi, Daksha, and Vasishta. These great personalities arranged for a great sacrifice for which demigods like Indra and the fire gods assembled with their followers. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were also present. So these are all Prajapatis. Marichi is a great sage, Daksha is a Prajapati, Vasishta is also a great rishi. So they are all leaders in the universal creation who are created right in the beginning, and they had great services to perform. And so they decided on a big, for the benefit of all, entire universe, great sacrifice they performed. And all the demigods also, including Brahma and Shiva, came. Tatra pravishtam rishayo drishtvarkam ivarochisa Brajamanam Vitimiram Kurvantam Tan Mahatsada. When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered that assembly, his personal bodily luster as bright as the effulgence of the sun, the entire assembly was illuminated, and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence. So Daksha was a great devotee of Vishnu, and he's also the leader of the Prajapatis, and his position was higher than the Devatas. So that is why when he came, everybody, I mean, the other people were insignificant in his presence because he has such a great position. Udattishtan sadasyaste swadishnebhya sahagnyaya rite virincham sarvam cha tadbhaskshipta chetasa. Influenced by his personal bodily luster, all the fire gods and other participants in that great assembly, with the exceptions of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksha. Even fire gods, they didn't have so much brightness as Daksha, and so they all stood up. On Brahma as his father, so naturally he didn't stand up. And Lord Shiva is greater than all the is the Devon ke Dev. So why will he? I mean, there's no need for him to stand up. Sadasas patibhir dakshu Bhagavan sadhu satkrita ajam loka gurum natva nishasada tad agnyayam. Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the great assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat. So Brahma welcomed him as he was the president of the assembly. Pranishannam hridam drishtva namrishyat tad anadrita uvacha vamam chakshurvyam abhivikshya dahan iva. Before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. At the time, Daksha became greatly angry and his eyes glowing. He began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, being the son in law of Daksha, was expected to show his father-in-law respect by standing with the others. But because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are the principal demigods, their positions are greater than Daksha's. Daksha, however, could not tolerate this, and he took it as an insult by his son-in-law. Previously also, he was not very much satisfied with Lord Shiva, for Shiva looked very poor and was niggardly in dress. Actually, uh, it's very complicated because Daksha is a very great personality and he's very puffed up. But that is the problem. He and he is a great devotee of Vishnu also. And still, because of taking his position too seriously, then he wanted all kinds of privileges. Actually, he was advised by Brahma to do, I mean, it's not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, but we can sort of accept what is I mean, in some other Purana, that because Parvati, or rather Sati, took birth as his daughter in order to facilitate, so that she can get married to Lord Shiva. And but somewhere in between, he became turned against Shiva. This was not the first yajna in which there was, actually he actually turned against Shiva for some reason. I don't want to say authoritatively because it's not mentioned here. And so he was even against her marrying him. He tried to put a stop to it somehow or other, but Sati also, she tried, but then she couldn't. I mean, how can Sati be without marrying Shiva? It's impossible. And her affection for her father kept her, in check. She tried to check herself, but she could not. It's impossible. So somehow, by all the devatas wanted them to get married. So they were also helping in this, because they wanted their son to be born soon so that he can kill Tarakasura, who had this thing, boon that only the son of Shiva should be able to kill him, nobody else. And he thought that Shiva is a great Vairagi, he will never get married. So the devatas were all, conspiring to get them both married. So they did get married, not without much. Somehow Daksha was convinced. She wanted her father's approval, and that they should get married under his this thing. I mean, he should be there in the wedding. She didn't want to run away and marry and all that. And also because she was his pet daughter. He had 60 or so daughters, of which Dakshayani was the his favorite, very, very favorite daughter of his. So for all these reasons, she wanted his approval. And somehow he was tricked into agreeing. That's another full story. So after that, at least Daksha was hoping that Shiva will become humble before him. And here in this yajna, we see that Shiva did not. I mean, he knew Daksha was too puffed up. So why not? He is one of the three Gunavataras. He's on par with Brahma. He accepted Brahma's superiority because he's his father. But Shiva, he thought he's my sibling. So this is what I mean, because he was a Prajapati, he thought everyone else is, junior to me and I'm so great and exalted. And so that's why he did this offense to Lord Shiva. And he was constantly looking down because he was very materialistic, very proud about his status and his looks. And he was a materialist. So he believed in the Karmakand. He was promoting Karmakand. And Karmakand means you have to be very well dressed and socially presentable. You follow all the etiquettes, you follow bureaucracy. That is, so he was like that. And so he could not understand the greatness of Shiva. Everybody else understood. Even all the devatas used to glorify him that you're the Deva, you're the Mahadev, you're controller of the Devas. So everybody respected him, but only Daksha, he was just seeing external things, finding fault, what kind of dress. And even though he became his son in law, he had contempt for him. He stopped devatas from offering, oblations to him, calling his name, during the yajnas and all that. He thought he's very influential. The devatas were afraid of Daksha because he was very powerful. Whereas Shiva, he never, I mean, even though he's greater than Daksha, but because he is very peaceful, he is not bothered. You don't respect me. Doesn't he is self-satisfied and exalted personality, and he will not retaliate against anyone for if somebody disrespects him and all that. So the devatas, they got scared of Daksha's retaliation, so they also obeyed and they did not pass on the thing to Lord Shiva. But of course, later on, everything was set right. Shuyatam Brahma Rishayo me Sahadeva Sahagnaya Sadhunam Bruvatu Vrittam Najnanan Nacha Matsarat. All sages, Brahmanas, and fire gods present, please hear me. So Daksha is speaking. Please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. In speaking against Lord Shiva, Daksha tried to pacify the assembly by presenting in a very tactful way that he was going to speak about the manners of gentle persons, although naturally this might affect some unmannerly upstarts, and the assembly might be unhappy because they did not want even unmannerly persons to be offended. In other words, he was in complete knowledge that he was speaking against Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's spotless character. As far as envy is concerned, from the very beginning, he was envious of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he could not distinguish his own particular envy. Although he spoke like a man in ignorance, he wanted to cover his statements by saying that he was not speaking for impudent and envious reasons. So it sounded very envious, of course. So he wanted to say that I'm not saying for envy. He thought he was not envious. But right from the beginning, his inability to recognize Lord Shiva's position is only because of envy. He thought he must be the topmost person. I don't know how he could imagine that because Brahmaji is anyway higher than him, but then he would have thought he's my father. So it's okay. He's got the right to have a bigger status than me. But Lord Shiva, he was thinking he was junior to him, if not equal. I am tu lokapala nam yashogno nirapatrapa sadbir acharita panta yena stabdena dushita. Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners because he is shameless. He does not know how to act. Daksha wanted to impress upon the minds of all the great sages assembled in that meeting that Shiva, being one of the demigods, had ruined the good reputations of all demigods by his unmannerly behavior. The words used against Lord Shiva by Daksha can also be understood in a different way in a good sense. For example, he stated that Shiva is Yashogna, which means one who spoils name and fame. So this can also be interpreted to mean that he was so famous that his fame killed all other fame. Again, Daksha used the word nirapatrapa, which also can be used in two senses. One sense is one who is stunted, and another sense is one who is the maintainer of persons who have no other shelter. Generally, Lord Shiva is known as the Lord of the Bhutas, or lower grade of living creatures. They take shelter of Lord Shiva because he is very kind to everyone and is very quickly satisfied. Therefore, he is called Asutosha. To such men who cannot approach other demigods or Vishnu, Lord Shiva gives shelter. Therefore, the word Nirapatrapa can be used in that sense. Um, so he is criticizing him, saying that he spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Actually, a Vaishnava, I mean, of course, he also saw him as his son in law and so junior to him. And I mean, he had this desire. He was so too proud. He can be satisfied that he was sufficiently welcomed. Everybody else got up. And because of not recognizing Shiva, that is why he was so envious. And he wanted Shiva to somehow show nothing would have satisfied him. Even if Shiva had got up and said, "Oh, my dear father," and all that, that also would not have satisfied him because he was envious of his position. Yeah, then he would have still he had held him in contempt that he doesn't even have a house. He's living outside, wearing all, with his matted hair and this thing, this tiger skin, deer skin, and living on the crematorium. So he had all these grouses. What kind of son-in-law? And he is all well dressed, like a king. So he had that contempt. But we also see two different mm, types of people here. One is this Daksha type, who are materialistic, very bureaucratic, and just interested in position, power, showing off, and all these things, envious, proud. And you have Shiva. I mean, he's very, very genuine. Shiva itself means very pure. And he's so, I mean, he doesn't believe in all these externals, right? Otherwise, that's why he's so much involved in meditation that he doesn't have time to for all these things, dressing up and all. He just wants minimum, okay, just wear one deer skin and sit there. That's it. He doesn't want to take time, and he doesn't believe in all these fancy things and social. He never goes for all these social programs and all that devatas keep having. He is always sitting and meditating. He is on a different league altogether, and he's so compassionate that the bhutas and pretas also follow with him everywhere, and he's not bothered. He gives shelter to them, very kind hearted, and not at all after all these, position, name, fame. Oh, he could have been angry with Daksha, right? He could have just flicked his finger and get him. He could do anything to him, but he did not. And that is then other set of, because he was a real Vaishnava and he was a devotee, pure devotee of Krishna. Whereas Daksha is more karmakanda. So we can see these two types. Both are devotees. Daksha is also a very exalted devotee of Vishnu. That's why he's got all this, this influence that his body radiated light and all that. And his position itself is because of his devotion to Vishnu. Eshame shishyatam prapto yanme duhitur agrahit pinim vipragnimuk mukata savitrya iva sadhuvat. He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and Brahmanas. He has married my daughter, who's equal to Gayatri, and has pretended to be just like an honest person. Purport. Daksha's statement that Lord Shiva pretended to be an honest person means that Shiva was dishonest because, in spite of accepting the position of Daksha's son in law, he was not respectful to Daksha. So for him, all these etiquettes were more important than the fact that he was the husband of his favorite daughter. What favorite? The minute she got married to Shiva, he cut off all his affection for her. He said, "Don't come." He's not at all interested in having any connection with her. Imagine. So, this is the so called affection. It's all based on position and etiquettes and all these sort of things. So, and he wanted to show that Shiva is an inferior person because he married his daughter, and he's dishonest because he's not acknowledging his inferior position and acting like a superior. So that's why he's calling him dishonest. We can see how horrible it is to want all this position, name, fame. It makes you a horrible creature. If somebody like Daksha, who is such an exalted personality, he face to face interacts with Vishnu. He just like Manu creates Manu Samhita and all. Prajapati, they also create laws and all those sort of things. Very exalted position. But because he's enjoying his position and wants that position, so attached to that, so then you become an offender, and your all the good qualities are destroyed by just the desire to dominate. And see how offensive he is to Lord Shiva. Grihitva mriga savakshya panim markata lochana pratyuttana bhivar darhe vachapi akritamo nochitam. He has eyes like a monkey's. Imagine. Yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think it fit to welcome me with sweet words. So much of ahankar. So what? I mean, if he had really, and a proper person would never have even thought like that. They, if because okay, first of all, you would have acknowledged Shiva to be superior, and you'd have been very grateful that you married my daughter. First of all, Dakshayani or Sati is also not his daughter. She is the eternal consort of Lord Shiva. And even if he thinks that it is my daughter, he would have gone and thanked him, that, grateful to him for accepting his daughter as his wife. Instead, he is calling all horrible things, offending him. लुप्त क्रियाया सुचये मानिने भिन्न सेतवे अनिच्छन अपि अधाम बालाम शूद्रयोव yevo satim giram. I had no desire to give my daughter to this person who has broken all rules of civility. What did he do? He didn't respect him for that sake. Because of not observing the required rules and regulations, he is impure. But I was obliged to hand over my daughter to him, just as one teaches the messages of the Vedas to a Shudra. Purport: a Shudra is forbidden to take lessons from Vedas because a Shudra, due to his unclean habits, is not worthy to hear such instructions. This restriction, that unless one has acquired the Brahminical qualifications, one should not read the Vedic literatures, is like the restriction that a law student should not enter a law college unless he has been graduated from all lower grades. According to the estimation of Daksha, Shiva was unclean in habits and not worthy to have the hand of his daughter Sati, who was so enlightened, beautiful, and chaste. The word used in this connection is Bhinnashetavi, which refers to one who has broken all regulations for good behavior by not following the Vedic principles. In other words, according to Daksha, the entire transaction of marriage of his daughter with Shiva was not in order. So again, imagine they're already married and still he's saying, harking back to the thing that I was forced to give my daughter, and because of not observing the required rules and regulations. So Shiva, because he is in charge of Tamoguna and he's always, associating with all these bhutas, pretas, and all these people. So sometimes he is covered with dust. He sits in the crematorium, and about all those rules and all that. Shiva worship is quite simple. There's no elaborate all those. Of course, they keep on doing Abhishek to Lord Shiva, but still, yeah, and the Shiva temples, I don't think, I mean, but whatever it is, uh, you know, so he didn't approve of his lifestyle. He thought that he's unclean, but he doesn't realize. Shiva is transcendental. That so-called dust and all is nothing. If he was really so dirty and all that, will Parvati marry him? She knows that Shiva is transcendental. The external thing is just a kind of Maya's this thing to put people into this thing. Those who really after the truth and humble, they can realize, oh, Shiva is such an exalted personality. He is an expansion of Vishnu, and he is doing all this simply to serve his master Vishnu. Just to, and why? In order to attract Tamoguna people to him. Because Tamoguna people, they're not attracted by Vishnu. He's too pure and he looks, you know, um, and they don't even feel like approaching him. They get scared. Whereas Shiva looks very approachable and he also mingles. He comes here, not like Vishnu, he's just lying in the far away in the Kshira. You all do whatever, I'll just watch. And he's got all his deputies to do that. Whereas Shiva is so kind for Vishnu only as his agent. He comes and, moves around how exalted he is. And what no other person wants to do, he will do. Like drinking poison in that, this thing, Vishnu Manthan. Vishnu wanted to show how great Shiva is. Vishnu himself could have just swallowed it and nothing would have happened to him. But he purposely told the Devatas, go and ask Shiva to drink it because he wanted to show what an exalted personality Shiva is. That for the sake of all of us, for the welfare of this universe, he was risking his life and taking poison and so on. So he wanted to show his magnanimity. So he doesn't know all that and he only sees the external thing, his dress. What dress he's wearing. This is like a total superficial materialist, not having any conception of spiritual advancement of a person. And according to him, the entire transaction of marriage of his daughter with Shiva was not in order. Imagine, he's so puffed up, he thought he will decide whether Sati should marry Shiva or not. The eternal consorts. Pretavaseshu ghoreshu preterbhutagaణैर्वृता अतति उन्मत्तवन्नग्नो व्युक्तकेशो हसन् चिताभस्मकृत स्नान प्रेतश्रन् नृष्टिभूषण शिवापदेशो हि अशिवो मत्तो मत्त जनप्रिय पतिः प्रमतनाथानां तमो मात्रात्मता मकात्मनाम. He lives in filthy places like crematoriums, and his companions are the ghosts and demons. Naked like a madman, sometimes laughing and sometimes crying, he smears crematorium ashes all over his body. He does not bathe regularly. Imagine saying all this. He does not bathe regularly, and he ornaments his body with a garland of skulls and bones. Therefore, only in name is he Shiva or auspicious. Actually, he is the most mad and inauspicious creature. Thus, he is very dear to crazy beings in the gross mode of ignorance, and he is their leader. So, this is the way he sees him. And Vaishnava knows what is the truth. Purport. Those who do not regularly bathe are supposed to be in association with ghosts and crazy creatures. Lord Shiva appeared to be like that, but his name Shiva is actually fitting, for he is very kind to persons who are in the darkness of the mode of ignorance, such as unclean drunkards who do not regularly bathe. Lord Shiva is so kind that he gives shelter to such creatures and gradually elevates them to spiritual consciousness. Although it's very difficult to raise such creatures to spiritual understanding, Lord Shiva takes charge of them, and therefore, as stated in the Vedas, Lord Shiva is all auspicious. Thus, by his association, even such fallen souls can be elevated. Sometimes it is seen that great personalities meet with fallen souls, not for any personal interest, but for the benefit of those souls. In the creation of the Lord, there are different kinds of living creatures. Some of them are in the mode of goodness, some are in the mode of passion, and some are in the mode of ignorance. Lord Vishnu takes charge of persons who are advanced Krishna conscious Vaishnavas, and Lord Brahma takes charge of persons who are very much attached to material activities. But Lord Shiva is so kind that he takes charge of persons who are in gross ignorance and whose behavior is lower than that of the animals. Therefore, Lord Shiva is especially called auspicious. So that shows, he is doing the most difficult job of elevating Tamuguna people. Very difficult to do, but because of associating with him, who's such an exalted personality, they get purified, and then Shiva, they get, yeah, different bodies, they get elevated. And his goal is to take them back to Godhead, to Vishnu. Of course, he himself in the Vishnu Vaikuntha, he's got his own planet like this thing, Sadashiva, as Sadashiva. And sometimes it's seen that great personalities meet with fallen souls, not for any personal interest, but for the benefit of these souls. So that is why he is associating with all of them. And you can see Sati is no less, in her greatness, because she externally, Daksha thought she's so glorious, she's so beautiful, she's got such wonderful qualities, and she's very chaste, and it's beneath her. She's married below her position, and all he thinks. But she doesn't see that. She sees Shiva for his real worth. That's why, in spite of her father constantly denigrating him and saying, "What is he? How is he fit for you? You're a princess," and all that. But she was not influenced by that. Tasma unmadanataya natya shauchaya durhrade datta bata maya sadvi todite paramestinam. On the request of Lord Brahma, I handed over, and that's the reason. On the request of Lord Brahma, I handed over my chaste daughter to him, although he is devoid of all cleanliness and his heart is filled with nasty things. It is the duty of parents to hand over their daughters to suitable persons, just befitting their family traditions in cleanliness, gentle behavior, wealth, social position, etc. Daksha was repentant on the request of Brahma, who was his father. He had handed over his daughter to a person who, according to his calculation, was nasty. He was so angry that he did not acknowledge that the request was from his father. Instead, he referred to Brahma as Parameshti, the supreme teacher in the universe. Because of his temperament of gross anger, he was not even prepared to accept Brahma as his father. In other words, he accused even Brahma of being less intelligent because he had advised Daksha to hand over his beautiful daughter to such a nasty fellow. In anger, one forgets everything, and thus Daksha, in anger, not only accused the great Lord Shiva, but criticized his own father, Lord Brahma, for his not very astute advice that Daksha hand over his daughter to Lord Shiva. So such proud people will never listen to anyone. They think that they know better than everybody, even the guru or anybody else. They'll never take, they think they only know best. So here we can see Daksha is completely under Maya as control. Maitre uvacha vinindhyaivam sadgirisham apra apratipam avasthitam dakshotapa upasprishya kruddaha saptum prachakrame. The sage Maitreya continued. Thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washing his hands and mouth, and cursed him in the following words. So he looked as if he was against, but he was not. So because Shiva didn't open his mouth, so his anger is even more. Anger never subsides. If you allow anger to go on and on and on, he went to the extent of cursing him. Ayam tu deva yajana Indropendradibirbhava sahabhagam na labatam deva ganadama. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice. But Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share. Because of this curse, Shiva was deprived of his share in the oblations of Vedic sacrifices. It was due to the curse of Daksha. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti comments in this connection that Lord Shiva was saved from the calamity of taking part with other demigods who were all materialistic. Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's not fitting for him to eat or sit with materialistic persons like the demigods. Thus, the curse of Daksha was indirectly a blessing for Shiva, uh, 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 a blessing, for Shiva would not have to eat or sit with the other demigods who were too materialistic. There is a practical example set for us by Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who used to sit in the side of the latrine to chant Hare Krishna. Many materialistic persons used to come and bother him and disturb his daily routine of chanting. So, to avoid their company, he used to sit on the side of a latrine where materialistic persons would not go because of the filth and obnoxious smell. However, Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj was so great that he was accepted as the spiritual master of such a great personality as His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupada Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva behaved in his own way to avoid materialistic persons who might disturb him in his prosecution of devotional service. So, as devotees, we have to take the example of Lord Shiva. There will be so many disturbances in the material world. For him, it was terrible. His own father-in-law was always harassing them, and he also insulted his own daughter, Sati, and all that. I mean, Shiva, of course, he is above everything. He is meditating, so he is not worried about that. But we see, I mean, so that is how devotees, because he knows what he is. And he always thinks of himself as a servant of Krishna. He's always meditating on Krishna. So devotees, if we always thinking about our real purpose in life of serving Krishna and the joy and happiness of rendering service to Krishna, then we will not be affected by, there'll be so many people who might, say something. They might criticize, they may insult, they may talk behind our back, they may try to curse, but he is not affected. Shiva was not affected. And in fact, Prabhupada is explaining that Shiva thought that it's a great blessing for me. No need. I don't need to come for every yajna and sit with all the devatas. He's very exalted. He's very happy. He's got bigger. He is the one of the chief preachers of this universe for the lowest class of people. So he's got a lot of things, and not only them. Of course, great sages also in the heavenly planets worship Lord Shiva. I mean, because once they are elevated, then they realize who he is, and he is one of the authorized agents of Lord Vishnu. And in Mahesh Dham, out in the Devi Dham, of course, inside this universe, he is, I mean, by worshipping him, then at the end of life, if one thinks of him, then one can go to Mahesh Dham. And in Mahesh Dham, there he is in the form of Sadashiva. And he is always worshipping Sankarshana. And when people go there to Mahesh Dham, then due to his association, further association, he purifies them and they can go back to Godhead. And not only that, he even attracts people. He goes to the Brahmajyoti from Mahesh Dham. He sees, because on the other side of Viraja, there is Brahmajyoti. He goes, and any souls that have come there, if they are even a little favorable, or they're not thinking, because impersonalists normally merge and think they're God. And so when he sees any impersonalists there stuck up in the Brahmajyoti, he'll pull them and bring them to Mahesh Dham, and through his association, then go make them go back to Godhead. So he is busy with his job. He knows what to do. He is not worried, okay, Daksha is his father-in-law on top of that. But he knows that Daksha is too puffed up and his pride needs to be brought down. Just like Krishna, he brought down the pride of Indra. Shiva is actually very merciful to Daksha by bringing down his pride. Otherwise, why would he not respect Daksha? Because he's the father of his very beloved Sati. But he, above all these family relationships, he is aware of his spiritual relationship, spiritual responsibility of checking this pride of this one, of Daksha. And here we see how he is thinking he is superior because he is worshipping Vishnu. So he insults Shiva. Vishnu will not be happy, no? He's told him also, don't do that. You try to make a truce with Shiva, but he refused to. He didn't even, if he really was a Vishnu Bhakta, he would have listened to Vishnu. And he knows Shiva is very dear to Vishnu. So how can he have some independent this thing from Vishnu? So these are all the things. A materialist is unsurrendered and his mind takes over, which is full of lust, greed, envy, pride. That's what happened. We can see the example of of Daksha. And we can be very careful not to be victim of any of these qualities, because it's danger. It will help us to fall down. Daksha fell down very badly, and he had to take another life. Again, live out his life as Daksha. And he had only because, and then his head was cut off and all that, and only by Lord Shiva's mercy, he could overcome his pride. So proud he was that his head had to be chopped off. Then only he came to his senses. So sometimes Krishna gives for proud people one big slap, and that's very good. Then after that, they become, realize, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. I'm nothing. Krishna is everything. Today I saw a very nice analogy about how we think we are independent, or we are an individual, separate from God. And then we think, see, I'm very good. People might be proud for different things, good looking or very intelligent, or whatever talent they have. But then it is like it's all coming from Krishna. Just like you see the waves in the ocean. Suppose we think, each wave thinks that it's a separate wave, not part and parcel of the ocean, and thinks, I'm the biggest wave. Then it's ridiculous, isn't it? Just like unless it's all part of the ocean. So in the same way, we are part and parcel of Krishna, and whatever we are able to do, or whatever qualities we have, is all Krishna's. So we should always be grateful. If we are grateful, we'll always be humble. Whatever it is, Krishna's mercy. Even if somebody says something, oh, it's all Guru and Krishna's mercy that I've got this. So one will never become proud, because there's nothing to be proud. Just like the ocean, when you see the waves, each wave is the greatness of the ocean which is churning out those waves. And Krishna is so great for creating so many living entities and empowering them. Just the spiritual quality is so potent. And for sparks of fire to retain their quality of fire, that is the heat and the light, what do they have to do? They have to stay in touch with the fire. If they think that I also have quality like the fire, you're a small spark, how long you'll survive? You go there and you just become ash. So this is the very nice lesson from this chapter. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Any question? Okay, now let's go for prayers. We pray for His Holiness Jai Daksh Swami for his complete complete recovery and good health and longevity and protection from all diseases and speedy recovery. So let us chant 3 times for His Holiness Jai Daksh Swami Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Then we pray for all Prabhupada disciples for their good health, well-being, longevity, protection from all diseases, and speedy recovery from all illnesses. And we pray for all our devotees and their family members for their good health, well-being, longevity, protection from all diseases, and speedy recovery from all illnesses. Then we pray for rainfall in Karnataka and Telangana, and pray that Modi ji be blessed with a very nice victory, landslide victory in the elections, and we can do all wonderful things for our country.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Mataji, actually today is a polling day in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh and all today.
Yes. Okay. So we pray for nice voting.
Yes,
bring out a very nice, amazing result that we'll all rejoice. Okay.
Yes, Mother.
Pray for that, oh Krishna. Hope there's wonderful polling today. And yes, that's it. And also all good prosperity, peace, and harmony all over India and all over the world. Let us chant 3 times Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Then we pray for yes, we pray for Swami Reddy Prabhu for his speedy recovery and good health, and we pray for Mokshit Verma Prabhu for his speedy recovery and good health. We pray for Srinivas Prabhu and Radhika Mataji for their speedy recovery and good health. Also speedy recovery and good health of Chandana Mataji and Venkatpati Prabhu's good health and speedy recovery. And we pray for Alikya Mataji and her brother to get very nice Krishna conscious and healthy child. And And we pray for baby Radhesh's speedy Krishna conscious progress. And we pray for Prasanna Revati Mataji's parents and brother for their good health, well-being, and Krishna conscious progress. And we pray for all spiritual progress for Vrinda, Narayani, Uday Bhaskar Prabhu, Ditya, Devesh, Radhika, and Anant. And we pray for nice jobs very soon for Srikant Prabhu, Balaji Prabhu, Dheeraj Prabhu, Pavan and Shravan, sons of Ram Govinda Prabhu, should get nice jobs and also get married soon to nice devotees. And we pray for Neelangini Mataji, Neelamada Prabhu, and Neeraj, good health, well-being, and Krishna conscious progress. We pray for Nagana Jiti Mataji's husband to get back all his dues, and we pray that Touchstone School and Kids Scene School should do very well. And yes, and then we pray for Vasanti Mataji's speedy recovery, Sarva Vandya Mataji's speedy recovery and good health, and also for her daughter Janvi good health, and also her mother's. And we pray for speedy recovery for Rangavali Mataji's father and Vidya Swarupini Mataji's father, Gauranga Guraj Prabhu's father-in-law, and the Krishna Mata Yashomati Mataji, and Tarak Sankirtan Prabhu, his brother Lalit Sharma, and Aunt Chandrakala Mataji. So for all these devotees, their good health, well-being, and speedy recovery. And we pray for all auspicious blessings upon Devishri Janava Mataji and her mother and brother. And we pray for Sati Kalavati Mataji's speedy recovery and good health, and all auspicious blessings on Neetu, Monu, Unni, Radhika, Radhikanath Prabhu and Vrindavan Mataji. And we pray for Nalini Radhika Mataji for her speedy recovery, for her parents' speedy recovery, and for her quick, that she should get married soon to a nice devotee boy, and Krishna conscious progress for their entire family. And then, jobs for good jobs for Pratibha Mataji, Jyoti Mataji, and Keshava Rajendra Prabhu and Jitendra Prabhu, and also Shubhamaya Mataji's husband. And we pray for Krishna conscious progress for Vinod Prabhu and family, Tarak Sankirtan Prabhu and family, and Anukampa Mataji and family, Advait Prabhu and family, Pranav, Ravi Tej, Kalavati, Hari Sevani Mataji and family, Vaibhava Mataji and family, and Sukhakar Prabhu and family, Vidya Swarupini Mataji's parents, and Pratibha Mataji and family, Shruti Priya Sevani Mataji and family, and Disha Mataji and family, Shilpa Mataji and family, Radhika Mataji and family, Radha Mataji and family, Sanjukta and her son, and Priti Purna Chitra Mataji and family, Mansi Mataji and family, Pradeep and Anant, and Abhishek for his complete recovery and also Krishna conscious progress. And okay, that's it. And Pratibha Mataji's father's speedy recovery. And praying for you to pray for the protection of Vijay Venugopal Prabhu, Pradeep, Anant, and myself, and also for Mansi Mataji from Palakkad for her daughter Adira and son Arjun, that they progress in Krishna consciousness and also get married very soon. And also Malini Kanti Mataji's children, Hari and Induleka, for their Krishna conscious progress, and they should get married very soon. Okay, let us chant 3 times Hare Krishna for everyone. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम ग्रंथ राज की जय। वांछकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
नमो नमः। कोटि वैष्णव।
हरे कृष्ण माताजी, धन्यवाद, प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna.
प्रणाम।
Humble obeisance unto your feet. Hare Krishna.
हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण।